we'll start it, but I'm not gonna, because I can edit it. I love this color on you.
Oh, thank you.
It totally pops. It's obviously like I love teal.
I know, we're always complimenting.
I know, it's so weird. It's so weird.
We're gonna plan it.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So I want to make sure we can see you good. Let's see.
I'm in.
And then, okay. And then make sure sometimes when you're doing your points, you can go and say, and like we talked about, this, because people, they don't remember it when we're talking about it. So just to emphasize, okay. So if da 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 da, which I do sometimes, I'll do it for you too. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
So
good.
here we go. Let's see. Oh. Okay. Are you good? Yeah? Okay. Well, hello. I'm here again with my friend Cary, and we are talking about depression today, as we've been talking about, right? We started with anxiety, and then we went into depression, but today we're talking about a very special subject that's very close to our hearts. It's about depression in children.
Yes.
And we were just sitting here talking about our kids earlier, and that's the first thing, like, how's it going? Well, Isaiah's doing this, and Chloe's doing this, and Derek's doing this, and so we always talk about our kids, and obviously that's where our heart is.
Yeah.
And as mothers and as women, we're so relational. So some of our mental health, unfortunately, whether it be codependent or not, is tied to the other people around us and who we love, right,
Definitely
Cary?
have an impact. Yeah.
It has an impact. Sometimes it's like, I wish they wouldn't affect me so much, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I know with my son, who I live for, he has some issues, and especially when we first got him, and he had a lot of issues, and so I was overwhelmed.
Yes.
And so it's like, how does mama's overwhelmed and mama becomes depressed, because the child is overwhelmed or depressed? It's like, it just has this ongoing effect, right? It feeds each other. So we're going to talk about a little bit about how to recognize depression in your child. Maybe it's just the kid being a kid, and they're 13 and they're going through hormones, and it's just normal sadness and emotion, versus it being serious and something that we need to really pause and get in check before it gets worse. Because as we know, depression and suicide are on the rise. I mean, I've never in my life heard more about it than I have in this last year. It's crazy.
It's scary.
It's crazy scary.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have Cary here. And so Cary, what are some things that are just normal emotional behavior for kids, that maybe we might go, oh, are they depressed? But maybe it's just kind of normal that they're going through emotionally.
Well, I think in general, kids' emotions as well as our emotions as adults, but we tend to be able to mask it a little bit better, I guess, with the maturity. But kids, they're very fluid and they're all over the place. So in 1 minute, it's like hugging a porcupine, and
I love that.
Yeah, and in the next minute, it's like just the sweetest, most respectful child,
Yes.
and joyful child ever. And they're kind of all over the place because, well, they're changing and they're growing up, and that's just kind of the nature of children.
Right.
And so
And
sometimes
it's hard not to respond to that sometimes.
it is hard to
not to get your feelings hurt and go, whoa, why are you trying to hug me now? You were just really rude to me. No way, I don't think so. And we can't, because we're the adults.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
It
really.
is. It is.
And so that makes it hard. And I think in addition to that, just life in general, with kids, the difference I think with their depression and ours is that they get dismissed much easier. Mm-hmm. They're just kids being kids. They're just doing that. They're just acting that way to get attention, or we're just busy and we overlook it. And so it's easy for them to sort of fall under the radar and get overlooked. And so today I'm really glad that we're able to come together and talk about,
Me too.
how do we identify, hey, what's going on with my kid? How do I know that this is something that I really need to get more help or support with?
And it's more serious than before.
Yeah.
So what are some things that are maybe more serious? What are some signs that's like, whoa, wait a minute?
Well, and all the things that I mentioned, I think it's really important to point out that we're not looking at just one specific things. It's accumulation. We got to look at the whole picture. So just because a kid may, have just this random angry outburst, it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, they're depressed.
Right.
So some of the things that you can look at is, okay, what does school look like? What does school performance look like? If teachers are coming back, there's more disruptions in class, even if it's being the class clown or disrespectful, that hasn't been, the norm. What do the grades look like? So are their grades like suddenly getting way worse, or even opposite, as odd as it sounds, like way better, because some kids become sort of a perfectionist.
To manage or control their world, that's what they can control, because they're going through so much stuff at home, or they're just going through a lot of stuff.
Right, and so just changes or fluctuations in that. In addition to like paying attention to what is their narrative like, what is their self-talk like, because sometimes they'll make little comments of, God, I'm such an idiot, or they'll say other things that inner critic kind of comes out. And if you hear them saying more and more negative things about themselves, in combination with some of this other that's going on, that would be important to look at. Certainly if you have a child that's self-injuring, that's a big indicator that hey, they're overwhelmed and they don't know how to manage what's going on in their lives at that time.
Right.
So that's going to be really an important one too. How do you know if they're self-injuring? Well, you just have to pay attention and see. You notice some injuries on their body, cuts, bruises that seem to be more frequent or more than usual. Increased isolation would be another one. They're just camping out in their room more than what they normally would. If they're just easily crying all the time, that could be one. But just the opposite of that, if they're just angry and just every little thing, they just
makes them angry. Which, we have to understand, because that's how we are. If everything's making us cry or making us angry, we have to know, we have to stop and go, something is not right here. So if your child's doing it, it's obvious that there's something not right with them either. Yeah,
like they knock over a cup of water and just blow up and like, oh my God, freak out about it or something. That that's going to be a good indicator too of like, whoa, what's going on here? What are they struggling with? So another thing you can look at too is social media. What is their social media like? If they're on social media, is it mostly negative or dark things? What does their music look like? Just media in general, like what are they gravitating?
What is their television? I had a child that I knew very well that they were always gravitating these very dark movies and dark music, and it was like
it's too much.
We just thought it was artistic at first, they're just goth, right? Which I understand, because I was goth too. I had black lipstick and wanted a mohawk, and when I was 13, I went through it. So my poor mother and dad. But the thing is that, and I was going through something.
Absolutely.
I was struggling with depression.
You identified with that for some reason,
right?
And so it's okay to identify with the sadness and dark things. Like, we don't want to avoid that, because it's natural that we have it.
Right.
It's just if we don't have that fluidity. So if we're not able to flow in and out of the emotional ranges, that's what's going to be important. So, okay, we can sort of play around, and maybe there are some times where we like to dress more, in a goth style,
right?
If you will. As long as that's not it.
Right.
That's not the only thing.
Right. Yeah. Right. I like that you're talking about social media.
Right.
Because it's like, that's such a huge part.
And there's so often that's a giveaway of
what's going
today.
on.
Because they don't journal as much. And
no, they don't journal. And they hide it. They isolate.
Yeah.
Like all of us. If we basically could wear what we Google, if it would be on our face where we've been on the websites, we would all be in a little trouble probably. And so that was a huge eye-opener for me with one of my children, that when I figured out where they'd been online.
Right.
And I was like, holy Toledo. And I'd just been blind because I've been so busy working and things like that. It's like, okay, you can have tab time. Okay, go watch television. And I wasn't embracing those times I could connect and try to really connect, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to connect on social media, and we all know that that's crap. That's really not real. That's not a real human connection.
Right.
It really isn't.
I mean, it does serve a purpose, and I mean, obviously there's some value to it. But when we're talking about really rich, in-depth connected relationships, that's not
it's
it.
void of it. It's void of it. And we were talking about those are great things. So just to review that. Social media, looking at their social media.
Yes, looking at their social media, looking at overall school performance reports that you're getting back from teachers, looking at their narrative from day to day. How are they responding to situations? Is it congruent, the emotional response with the situation? So if they knock over a cup of water, are they just blowing up? Just having an overall view of like, what do the pieces to the puzzle look like? And these are things that are very easy to overlook, but if we'll just give pause and kind of focus in on it, then it can be a good indicator.
So to give pause and focus in on it are a couple of things that we can do, right? As parents, right? We obviously they need to be set up with the counselor because they need to, get evaluated and talk to someone. Number 2, they need to maybe go to the doctor. Maybe they need some meds. Maybe they don't. I used to be anti-meds, but I've seen how it's really helped me and it's helped my son. And it's helped me because I've struggled with anxiety and depression my whole life. So to get on Lexapro has changed my life. Right. To deal with, because I can deal with life. I can deal with.
And I think that's what's important to remember is like, it's what works for you. So for some people, meds work great. For other people, maybe meds isn't the way to go. Maybe it's just upping that physical activity, getting out in the sunshine more.
I love
getting
that.
The exercise.
Gross motor for kids is so important.
It's very
especially
important.
Boys. I used to make Isaiah stay outside for 3 hours. It's like go run around, go do the block 20 times. Go to the stairs 25 times because the therapist said that's what he needs.
Absolutely. Well, we all need it, right?
We all need it.
But especially kids. I mean, imaginative play and being able to go out and engage and just have that ability to just explore and do what the mind does.
Right.
And use their imagination is so important.
Right.
Even at, 13 years old, it's not, just when they're really young, but
it's when they're older too, because he goes out and play basketball and stuff. Because those endorphins kick in and you feel good about yourself. You're exploring. Maybe you're playing basketball. Maybe you're riding your bike. Maybe you're like, challenging yourself and setting goals and overcoming them and going and increasing your self-esteem as well, which is good. Because being sedentary doesn't do any good for anyone. And so that's the thing. But then also, let's just get real honest here because I'm in recovery and we talk about being rigorously honest with ourselves. What can we do as parents? What are we not doing? And I know that it's easy to blame ourselves, right? We want to say it's our fault. It's not necessarily our fault, but I will say this. It is our fault when we can't deal anymore and we're just like, go to your room, go do TV, go get your tab. I can't deal with you right now. I'm too busy. I've got to work. I've got to do this. And Cary brought up something earlier. What she did is engage your child. And what I've been doing with Isaiah too is engaging. Yeah. Hey, come and help cut up the onions, or come help me cook, or let's do the dishes together. Or, hey, he wanted to come to my Sunday school and sit with me. I wanted him to go to his kids' Sunday school, but he wanted to come with me. And I'm thinking, how amazing is that? My 13-year-old son wants to come and sit with me at church. And then we were sharing a Bible and reading scripture together. And it's like, those are really great connection moments. And I have to tell you, because I've been trying to connect more, his attitude towards me and at home is way better.
It does get better. Yeah, and I think that C word is so important, connection.
Yeah, connection.
And, kids are not going to just naturally oftentimes do it on their own. Some will, but you're right. Like my kids came home, I was working on dinner. Yeah. And before I had to go back and see some more clients. And I said, hey, come help me. I chose one of the kids to come help me peel the potatoes as we were getting ready for dinner. And no, he didn't want to do it first because sitting on the PlayStation
is so much better.
Seemed
than peeling
at the
potatoes.
Time, after a long day of being at school, he just wanted to veg out. Yeah. But he gave me a little bit of kickback, but I said, no, come in here and help me do this. Right. And it was a great opportunity, even though it's small. I think we get overwhelmed with the idea of like trying to, build Rome in a day, so to speak. And really it's through these small engagements that can be really powerful. He came in, I had the opportunity to say, wow, you did a great job. He felt accomplished. And it wasn't strenuous on his mind or anything, but he contributed to, the family meal, which was so important. Right. It's those small things. And, and you had made the comment about oh, you know, it's not about blaming the parents. It's not. It's
Right.
not even about what's right or wrong, but it's what's working, what isn't working, what's
Right.
healthy, what isn't healthy.
Right.
That's what our goal really is.
Yeah.
And so if we see like, hey, you know, we just need to reset because the way things have been going, it just hasn't quite been working.
Right.
And so maybe it worked for a little while, but now it's not. We need to scale back or regroup and kind of do things a little bit differently.
Right.
I mean, we can get really overwhelmed and just weight ourselves down with a sense of guilt. Let's not do that. We don't need to do that to ourselves. It doesn't help anybody.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And just to pray every day and say, God, how can I connect? Well, first of all, how can I connect with you better? And then how can you, then just please guide me to connect with the ones I love better every single day. For me, my faith comes into, you know, action where it's like, okay, just one thing. Let's keep it simple, stupid. You know, the
Yeah.
KISS technique, which is,
Yeah.
I love. Keep it simple, stupid. What is one thing I can do?
Yes.
What's one way we connect today, or even to just everyone around us, and not through social media. It's something, a real
Be
human
creative.
connection, because we need that. And I'm not anti-social. I love, obviously, you know, guys know I love social
I
media.
mean, yeah, it is fun.
But it's like, how can we really connect to people around us? You know, other mothers. You know, how can we reach out to someone that we know? You know, normally we're like, oh, we're busy. We know she's going through a hard time, but you know, I'm just so busy. It's like, but how can you not reach out to her, you know, and just connect and know, hey girl, I'm going, like, just like we were.
Yes.
I'm going through the same thing.
Just
They're
a quick
13.
check-in. Yeah,
It's like,
so
it's going to be
powerful.
okay.
It is.
You know, and I think even with our children, that's important. So this is very, very helpful, Cary, you know,
Good.
because I feel like we struggle with it. Our kids are struggling with it. At least we, like you said, mature and can put a voice to it.
Right.
But when your kid's acting out at school, to me, that's like, I'm overwhelmed, Mom and Dad. I can't deal with life.
That's right.
So I'm going to show you, because I can't really communicate, that I'm really not in a good place. You know, if it's consistently acting
And I
out.
think like sometimes it's so easy to get distracted by that and get frustrated of like, really, I've got to come off work and
Right.
go and
What are you doing? What is
Yeah.
going on? Why did
and
you do this?
Go straight to that punitive
Yes.
like punishment. or,
Right.
like, now you're grounded or whatever. But use that as an opportunity to say, hey, you know, what's going on?
What's up?
What's happening? You know, and just check things out first. It doesn't mean that they're not held accountable. It doesn't mean that they don't have consequences for their actions or anything like that. But just use those as opportunities also to just check